It's been a while since I've done one of these videos, so I thought today would be a perfect time to bring this series back because there is a lot of new players' names being thrown around in trade talks and trade rumors, and there's a lot of big name players as well, so I thought it would be a perfect time to do episode number 11 of NHL Deal or No Deal. This is a fan favorite series on the channel, and it is definitely one that I like to do as well, because who doesn't like trade rumors and speculation, and obviously I love featuring your guys' comments in the videos. So yesterday I posted on my community tab. If you guys aren't always checking that, make sure you do, because whenever I do an interactive video like this, that is usually where you can have a chance to get your comment featured. I said NHL Deal or No Deal tomorrow, comment your mock trades. We had 122 comments, so obviously I couldn't feature every single comment in the video, or else the video would be hours long and nobody wants that. So I usually pick around 10 per episode, but if your comment wasn't featured in today's video, don't worry, because there will be many more opportunities in up and coming videos to get your comment featured. So without wasting any more time rambling on through this intro, let's jump right into it with the first mock trade. This first comment comes from Grievous JAB421, who says Oscar Klefbom for Andre Palat and Braden Coburn. Now, heading into the year, I probably would have had a completely different feeling towards this trade, because everybody knows how bad the wingers were for Edmonton heading into the year, or at least how bad everyone made it seem to be, and bringing in a guy like Andre Palat would definitely have been a big help on the wing for this Edmonton team. A good two-way forward who can put up some good numbers, and if he got the chance to play with McDavid or Draisaitl, who knows what he could have done offensively, and you'd be bringing in a pretty solid defenseman, at least a serviceable defenseman, to kind of replace Oscar Klefbom. But looking at Edmonton's start to the season, I really can't see why Ken Holland would consider making a massive move like this, especially considering how good their defense has been this first little bit of the season and how big of a role they have played in their success so far, especially Oscar Klefbom. He has looked like a top 25 defenseman in the NHL. He's on a very team-friendly contract for the way that he has been playing to start the season. I would have probably liked this trade heading into the season, but for right now and for how good things are going for the Edmonton Oilers, I think I'm going to have to say no deal to this one. Moving along now to the next comment. This one comes from Bruins fan 88, who says the Sharks receive Karl Alzner and a 3rd round pick, and the Habs receive Marc-Edouard Vlasic and a 5th round pick. I'm going to come right out and say no deal to this one. I know Marc-Edouard Vlasic is probably a little bit overpaid at this stage in his career, and is definitely not the defenseman that he used to be, but I still think he's a very serviceable top 4 defenseman on basically any team in the league, maybe outside of like Nashville or something like that, but I definitely think he is still miles ahead of Karl Alzner. Karl Alzner is a guy who isn't even playing in the NHL right now. His contract is kind of just being buried in the American Hockey League by the Habs, so I don't really see any scenario why the San Jose Sharks would want to do this. I feel like if they are trading away Vlasic, they're going to try to bring in like a top 6 winger and shed some cap to try to get some flexibility, so I'm definitely going to say no deal to this one. Moving along, this comment comes from Nufty Season, who says AA72, which is Andreas Athanasiou of the Red Wings, for Rasmus Ristolainen. Now, this is an interesting one because it did seem like Rasmus Ristolainen really wanted a fresh start somewhere else heading into the season, but so far Buffalo has been arguably the best team in the entire NHL, and his defensive game has definitely stepped up a notch since last season in a big way, so I'm not quite sure what the feeling is there if Buffalo wants to make any changes like this and kind of mess with the good thing that they have going right now. But me as a Red Wings fan, I honestly think I would say deal to this one, because the blue line has just looked so awful for the Detroit Red Wings to start the season, and even though Andreas Athanasiou had a breakout 30-goal, 50-point season last year, he has still yet to score a goal this season, and he's kind of just looked lazy out there, and it's just waiting for his skill to take over, as opposed to really working for the goals like he did last year. So I really haven't been impressed with Athanasiou, and we need all the help we can get on the blue line. So me as a Red Wings fan, I'm actually going to say deal to this one, but I'm not quite sure if Buffalo wants to make any changes considering how dominant they've been. Moving on now to a trade from Chris, who says Taylor Hall for Gallagher and a 1st. Now, this is interesting because Taylor Hall's name has definitely been thrown around in trade talks and rumors over the past couple of weeks. The biggest reason why is because he is an unrestricted free agent in this up and coming summer, and the New Jersey Devils have definitely struggled to start the year, and if they have an awful season, then maybe Taylor Hall won't want to stick around, and then maybe he'll go and test his luck in free agency, and if that happens, then then New Jersey could risk getting nothing in return for him. We saw that happen with Columbus, Bobrovsky, and Panarin. They didn't get anything in return for those guys, and same with the New York Islanders and John Tavares. They risked it, didn't re-sign him in free agency, and didn't get nothing in return. So maybe New Jersey could look at trading Taylor Hall, but if they do, I think it would have to be for like a crazy package. And while Gallagher and a first is definitely good for Montreal, I'm not sure if it's quite enough for a guy who just won the Hart Trophy in the 2017-18 season. So I like the idea of this trade, and Montreal has definitely been a team that has had their name in the trade talks kind of tied to Taylor Hall, but I definitely think they would have to give up a little bit more than this. So I'm going to say no deal, but I really like the idea. Moving on to the next comment, this one from Colin Giovanni, and this is yet another one with Marc-Edouard Vlasic going to the Habs, and this one is in exchange for Noah Juleson, who is currently injured, Joel Armia, and a second round pick. Now, Joel Armia has been fantastic to start the year for the Montreal Canadiens, and I think the San Jose Sharks could definitely use another top 9 winger to really help them get their season turned around. And if Joel Armia could play in San Jose like he did in Montreal, that would be a huge bonus for them. And I definitely think a team like San Jose, who already has amazing defensemen like Brent Burns and Erik Karlsson, could definitely survive the loss of a guy like Marc-Edouard Vlasic. And Montreal, going back to last summer, has really been looking to bolster their left side, and Marc-Edouard Vlasic would definitely do that. So I actually like this trade a lot. I think it would benefit both sides, and this is another one that I'm definitely going to say deal to. This next comment comes from one Jess D. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly, or however it's supposed to be said, but they say Edmonton trades Philip Broberg, a prospect that they just had drafted, Jesse Puljujarvi, Manning, and a first for Taylor Hall. Now this is very interesting. So Taylor Hall would be going back to the team that originally drafted him, and having him on a wing with either Draisaitl or McDavid would be ridiculous, and you could potentially have all three of them on the same line. That would definitely be one of the best lines that we've seen in a very, very long time, but I feel like the likes of Taylor Hall going back to Edmonton are very, very slim, because Edmonton isn't a team that has a lot of money to throw around, and even if Taylor Hall does get traded to Edmonton, they would most likely want it to come with a contract extension, and Taylor Hall could definitely get like 10 plus million in unrestricted free agency, and I really just don't think that is something Edmonton could afford to do if they want to have at least some good supporting cast around guys like Draisaitl and McDavid. So it would be pretty sick to see Taylor Hall go back to Edmonton, but I'm going to say no deal to this one. Moving along, we have a trade from, you guys can see the name on the screen, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because I know I'm just going to butcher it, but they say Alexander Georgiev to the LA Kings for their first round pick. I'm going to come right out and say no deal, because the LA Kings already have their goaltender of the future, in my opinion, stashed away in the AHL and Cal Peterson, and I think Georgiev and Shesterkin are going to be the future goaltending tandem in New York once Henrik Lundqvist does decide to hang them up. So I don't really see that this makes sense for either side, and I definitely don't think the LA Kings should be trading away their first round picks anytime soon, so I'm definitely going to have to say no deal to this trade. Moving along, we have a trade from Zachary, who says Pavel Zacha to the Kings for Sean Walker and a 2026th round pick. Now, before the season got underway, I probably would have said I like this trade, and obviously Zacha definitely needs a change of scenery, and with the contract extension not really going as planned, earlier on in the summer, this definitely would have made a lot more sense. But now he is under contract, a little bit of a bridge deal for Pavel Zacha, and so far to start the year, he's actually been one of the more impressive players, in my opinion at least, for the New Jersey Devils. So it seems like things are kind of slowly starting to turn around for him, and he could be in for like his first kind of breakout season ever since being a former top pick by the New Jersey Devils. So even though the Devils are struggling to start the year, Pavel Zacha has definitely been a bright spot, and I think they're going to let him stick around for at least the remainder of the season unless something happens. And now for the second last trade of the video, this one comes from 24/7 Sports, who says Pittsburgh acquires Viktor Rask in exchange for Jack Johnson, a 2025th round pick. Now this would kind of just be like a swap of some bad contracts, with Minnesota receiving a 5th round pick also, and with all the injuries that Pittsburgh have sustained so far to start the season, I think getting a guy like Viktor Rask to help the depth there would definitely be good for them. But honestly, I feel like all the guys that Pittsburgh are kind of just throwing out there on the ice are working out, and they're definitely having a lot of success. So I feel like this is kind of a trade that neither of these teams need to make, so I'm just going to say no deal, but the swapping of the contracts definitely does make sense in some scenarios. And now finishing out the video with a mock trade from Christian, who says Hinostroza and a 3rd round pick in 2026 2020 for Alex Wenberg, and he says Arizona gets a good center that they need, and Columbus gets a pick and a good young winger in Vinny Hinostroza. Now, I actually do like this trade because Alexander Wenberg, after having like a 50-point season, never really was able to get back to that, and I feel like over the past couple of years he has been kind of disappointing, and maybe a fresh start would benefit him. And Vinny Hinostroza has definitely gotten off to a really cold start to the season after kind of having a little bit of a breakout year in the 2018-19 season. So I actually do like this trade. I definitely think it does make sense for both sides, and maybe both of these guys would thrive in a new role. So to finish out the video, I'm going to say deal to this trade. I like it a lot. So that is going to wrap up episode number 11 of NHL Deal or No Deal. Like I said at the start, make sure to always keep an eye on the community tab for posts like this, where you could have a chance to get your comment featured in an up and coming interactive video. Thank you guys so much for all the support on the channel lately. I really do appreciate it, and thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.